Have you ever opened your eyes in the morning, looked at the clock, and thought, why do I feel so tired already? You haven't even gotten out of bed yet, and somehow your body feels like it's already run a marathon. If you're over 70 and this sounds familiar, let me tell you something important right away. This isn't just how aging is supposed to feel. Feeling worn out first thing in the morning is common, yes, but it's not normal. And more importantly, it's not something you simply have to accept. Many people quietly assume that waking up exhausted is just part of getting older. They tell themselves, well, I'm in my 70s now, of course I'm tired. But here's the truth most people never hear. A lot of that morning exhaustion comes from small daily habits that slowly drain your energy without you even realizing it. The good news is that once you recognize them, you can start feeling more refreshed again, even at this stage of life. Today, we're going to talk about 5 everyday habits that often leave people over 70 feeling drained before the day even begins. These aren't extreme things or complicated medical advice. They're simple patterns many well-meaning seniors fall into because they seem harmless or even sensible. As we go along, I want you to gently ask yourself, could this be something I'm doing too? There's no judgment here, only understanding and practical ways to feel better. Let's ease into this by talking about the first habit, because it's one of the most common and one of the most misunderstood. It starts the moment you wake up and can set the tone for your entire day without you realizing it. Many older adults wake up and immediately stay very still, lying in bed for a long time, sometimes scrolling on a phone, sometimes just staring at the ceiling, waiting for the body to feel ready to move. It feels safe, it feels cautious, and it feels responsible. After all, no one wants to feel dizzy or unsteady. But here's what's really happening. When you stay completely still for too long after waking, your circulation remains sluggish, your muscles stay stiff, your nervous system doesn't get the signal that it's time to switch from rest mode to active mode. So instead of gently waking up with energy, your body stays stuck in a half-asleep state. That heavy, foggy feeling lingers, and you carry it with you into breakfast, into your morning routine, and sometimes into the whole day. This doesn't mean you should jump out of bed like you're 30 again, not at all. What it does mean is that your body needs gentle signals. Simple movements like wiggling your fingers and toes, slowly rolling your shoulders, or taking a few deep breaths while still lying down can make a surprising difference. Sitting up, letting your feet touch the floor, and giving yourself a moment to stretch can help your blood start flowing again. Many people who try this say they don't feel energized right away, but they notice that the crushing morning heaviness slowly starts to lift instead of sticking around. Now, as we stay with this idea of mornings, let's talk about a second habit that quietly steals energy before the day even gets started. This one has to do with what you do or don't do the night before. Many seniors believe that because they're older, they need to go to bed much earlier, sometimes hours earlier than they used to. So they lie down at 7 or 8 in the evening, even if they're not truly sleepy yet. The lights go off, the room gets quiet, and they wait for sleep to arrive. The problem is that when you go to bed too early without real sleep pressure, your sleep becomes lighter and more fragmented. You might fall asleep for a while, then wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, tossing and turning, watching the clock, feeling frustrated. By the time morning comes, you've technically spent many hours in bed, but your sleep wasn't deep or restorative. You wake up feeling like you barely rested at all. This pattern often convinces people that their body is failing them, when in reality it's responding exactly as it should. Our bodies, even after 70, still follow rhythms. They still need a balance between activity and rest. Going to bed when you're gently sleepy rather than simply when the clock says so can improve sleep quality more than most people expect.
Sometimes shifting bedtime later by even 30 minutes can lead to deeper sleep and better mornings. Another part of this habit involves how evenings are spent. If your evenings are very inactive, with long periods of sitting and little movement, your body may not build up enough natural tiredness. A short walk, light stretching, or even standing up and moving around the house more in the early evening can help your body understand that it lived a full day and is ready to rest. As you think about these first two habits, you might start to see a pattern. Morning exhaustion isn't always about age. Often it's about signals your body gives and signals it receives. When those signals are mixed or missing, energy suffers. And what's encouraging is that signals can be changed gently without force or fear. There's another habit, though, that's deeply connected to both how you sleep and how you wake up, and it often hides in plain sight. It's something many seniors were actually taught to do because it sounds healthy and responsible. Yet, over time, it can quietly drain energy day after day. As we move forward, this next habit will help explain why some people feel tired even when they believe they're doing everything right, and understanding it can be a real turning point in how you experience your mornings.
That habit I mentioned, the one that sounds responsible and even healthy, often shows up in the form of how we handle rest during the day. Many people over 70 are told directly or indirectly that they should take it easy. So they do. They sit more, they lie down more, they take long naps, sometimes out of caution, sometimes because they already feel tired. It feels logical. If you're exhausted, resting more should help, right? But here's the tricky part. Too much daytime resting, especially long or late naps, can quietly steal energy instead of restoring it. When you nap for an hour or two, or when you lie down in the late afternoon because you feel drained, your body gets confused. It starts borrowing sleep from the night. So when bedtime comes, your sleep drive isn't as strong. You may fall asleep, but it's lighter, more fragile. Then morning arrives, and instead of feeling renewed, you wake up feeling just as heavy as the day before. What makes this especially frustrating is that the tiredness feels very real. It's not imagined, but it becomes a cycle. Poor nighttime sleep leads to daytime fatigue. Daytime fatigue leads to more resting and napping. More napping leads to poorer sleep at night, and the cycle keeps spinning, leaving you wondering why nothing seems to help. This doesn't mean you should never rest. Rest is important, especially as we age. The key is how and when. Short rests, like sitting quietly with your feet up or closing your eyes for 15 or 20 minutes earlier in the day, can be refreshing without stealing nighttime sleep. Even better, gentle activity when you feel a dip in energy can sometimes bring more relief than lying down. A slow walk down the hallway, watering plants, or standing by a window and stretching can send a message to your body that it's still daytime, still time to be awake. Now, as we move along, there's another habit that plays a surprisingly large role in waking up exhausted, and it has everything to do with what you put into your body, especially later in the day. Many seniors don't think of this as a problem because it's been part of their routine for decades. A cup of coffee in the afternoon, a strong cup of tea after dinner, maybe even a bit of chocolate in the evening. These things feel small, comforting, and familiar. The challenge is that as we get older, our bodies process caffeine much more slowly. What once wore off by bedtime may now still be active in your system well into the night. You might fall asleep without trouble, but the caffeine can keep your brain slightly alert beneath the surface. Sleep becomes lighter, you wake up more often even if you don't fully remember it, and in the morning you feel like you've been half awake all night. What's tricky here is that many people don't connect their afternoon habits with their morning exhaustion. They'll say, "I only had 1 cup," or "I've always done this." And that may be true, but your body at 70 or 80 isn't the same body it was at 50. Sensitivities change. Timing matters more. Even things that don't feel like stimulants can play a role.
Some medications taken later in the day can interfere with sleep. Heavy evening meals can keep your digestive system busy all night, pulling energy away from deep rest. Drinking a lot of fluids late in the evening can lead to frequent trips to the bathroom, breaking up your sleep and making mornings feel rough. None of this is about restriction or fear, it's about awareness. Sometimes shifting a cup of coffee earlier in the day, choosing a lighter evening meal, or spacing fluids differently can make mornings noticeably easier. Many people are surprised by how much better they feel simply by making small timing adjustments. There's also an emotional side to this that deserves attention. Evening hours can feel lonely or quiet, especially if you live alone or your days have become less busy. So people turn to food, drinks, or television as comfort. That comfort matters. The goal isn't to remove it, but to choose versions that don't quietly work against your sleep and energy. Warm herbal teas, calming music, or a simple nighttime routine can offer comfort without draining your mornings. As these habits stack up, it becomes clearer why waking up exhausted can feel so mysterious. Each habit on its own seems harmless. Together, they can quietly chip away at your energy night after night. And the hardest part is that many of these patterns were formed with good intentions. You were trying to rest more, be cautious, take care of yourself. There's still one more habit that ties all of this together, and it often goes unnoticed because it lives more in the mind than in the body. It shapes how you approach your days, how you interpret tiredness, and even how much energy you allow yourself to feel. Understanding this final piece can change not just how you sleep, but how you experience your mornings and your sense of vitality overall.
That final habit lives quietly in the background, and because it doesn't look like a habit at all, it's often the hardest one to notice. It's the belief, sometimes spoken out loud and sometimes only whispered inside, that feeling tired is simply who you are now. That after 70, low energy is expected, unavoidable, and not worth questioning. This belief shapes how you move, how you rest, and even how much life you allow yourself to live each day. When you expect to feel exhausted, your body often follows that expectation. You wake up already scanning yourself for signs of fatigue. You interpret stiffness or a slow start as proof that the day will be hard. So you move less, you challenge yourself less, and without meaning to, you shrink your world just a little bit more. Over time, your muscles weaken, your confidence fades, and real physical tiredness sets in, reinforcing the belief that started it all. This isn't about pretending you're not aging or pushing yourself beyond what's safe. It's about recognizing how powerful your mindset still is. Many seniors who begin to gently question that tired identity notice subtle changes. They start their day with curiosity instead of resignation. They ask, "What would help me feel just a bit better this morning?" instead of, "How am I going to get through today?" That small shift opens the door to movement, light, and engagement, all of which feed energy rather than drain it. There's something else closely tied to this belief, and it's the habit of comparing yourself to others your age in a way that discourages you. You might hear friends talk about aches, poor sleep, or constant fatigue, and without realizing it, you adopt the same expectations. It becomes normal to complain about being tired. It becomes part of conversation, part of identity. But what we normalize, we often stop trying to change. At the same time, there are people well into their 70s, 80s, and beyond who wake up with a sense of purpose and enough energy to enjoy their mornings. They're not superhuman, they don't have perfect health, they've simply built routines, beliefs, and habits that support their energy instead of quietly stealing it. And many of them made those changes later in life, not earlier. As all of this comes together, it's important to see the full picture without judgment. Waking up exhausted after 70 usually isn't caused by one big problem. It's the result of small patterns adding up. staying too still in the morning, going to bed before your body is ready, resting too much during the day, letting caffeine or heavy evenings interfere with sleep, and finally, believing deep down that exhaustion is inevitable. The encouraging truth is that small changes really can make a big difference. You don't need to overhaul your life. You don't need to follow strict rules or complicated plans. You only need to experiment gently. Try adding a bit of movement when you wake up. Pay attention to when you're truly sleepy at night. Notice how daytime rest affects your evenings. Be curious about how what you eat and drink later in the day shows up in your mornings. And most importantly, speak to yourself with kindness and possibility instead of resignation. Energy after 70 doesn't usually arrive all at once. It returns in moments. One morning, you notice you got out of bed a little easier. Another day, you realized you didn't need to sit down as often. Over time, those moments string together into a new normal, one where mornings feel less heavy and days feel more open. If any of this sounds familiar to you, you're not alone. Many people watching right now are nodding along, recognizing themselves in these habits. That's why sharing experiences matters. If you feel comfortable, take a moment to leave a comment and share which of these habits surprised you the most, or what mornings have been like for you lately. Your words might help someone else feel understood and hopeful. If this conversation has been helpful, give the video a like so more people who need it can find it. And if you'd like more honest, supportive discussions about health, energy, and living well as we age, consider subscribing to the channel. There's so much life still to be lived, and you deserve to feel as awake and present for it as possible. No matter your age, your body is still listening. It's still responding to care, movement, rest, and belief. Be patient with yourself. Be gentle. And remember, waking up with more energy isn't about turning back the clock. It's about working with who you are now and giving yourself permission to feel good again. Here's to calmer nights, brighter mornings, and enjoying each day just a little more.